Now, even the simplest video games are comprised of a mind-boggling number of moving parts, enough so that it isn't always possible for those in charge to keep track of everything, and so sometimes mistakes are made, and sometimes cheeky members of the dev team include Easter eggs in the title that are ethically dubious at best, and in fact might incur legal action when discovered. So let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video game secrets that broke the law. Number 8. Nudities. The Apprentice. 1994's Philips CDI exclusive platformer The Apprentice might seem like a warm, fuzzy and entirely appropriate title for children, yet the game also contains a number of secret, incredibly R-rated game over screens that were intended to parody Mortal Kombat's iconic fatalities. Upon receiving a game over, if players entered one of several codes before the player character Marvin stopped walking, they could unlock some rather suspect animations. These ranged from fatalities where you could witness monkey enemies being brutally decapitated, because is there any other way, to animalities which turned the game's bonus stage girls into stuffed animals, and most jarringly, nudalities which stripped the aforementioned girls completely nude. Given that The Apprentice was marketed as a game for children and otherwise appeared to be such, including images of naked women was skating on thin legal ice at absolute best, especially as the Entertainment Software Ratings Board, or ESRB, was literally formed mere months before this game's release. Number 7. Secret South Park. Tiger Woods' 99 PGA Golf Tour. Now, how could a Tiger Woods-themed golf game possibly put itself in a legally actionable position, you ask? Well, the first 100,000 copies of the PlayStation version of Tiger Woods' 99 PGA Tour Golf contained a sneaky Easter egg loaded onto the game disc at the last minute by a mischievous programmer. Putting the game disc into a computer would allow players to watch a hidden video of Jesus vs. Santa, an animated short film created by Matt Stone and Trey Parker in 1995, and served as the direct inspiration for their hit show South Park. Unsurprisingly, the short is as crude as you'd reasonably expect, and absolutely not suitable for a game that received an E for everyone rating. And so, once word got out a few months after the game's release, EA ended up recalling all unsold copies of Tiger Woods' 99 PGA Tour Golf at a considerable expense, dubbing the short objectionable to consumers and ensuring that future pressings of the game didn't include the file. With that in mind, if you've got a first edition of this game, well, it might actually be worth something. And to that dev who put it on there, probably their job. Number 6. Zombie Michael Jackson. Plants vs. Zombies. When Plants vs. Zombies was originally released in 2009, it launched with a disco zombie character who bore an unmistakable resemblance to Michael Jackson in his iconic music video for Thriller. Jackson himself seemingly had no problem with his image being used in this game, yet following his unexpected death less than 2 months after the game's release, the presence of an actual undead caricature of the pop icon unavoidably struck a very different, arguably distasteful chord. And so once Jackson's estate caught wind of his image being used in the game, they threatened legal action against developer PopCap Games unless they removed Jackson's likeness from Plants vs. Zombies entirely. Given that PopCap likely lacked the resources to do legal battle with the titanic coffers of the Jackson estate, and if we're being honest, probably wasn't worth the hassle, they decided to retire the original disco zombie design, which was replaced with a more generic-looking 70s style zombie character. Number 5. The Red Cross. Among Us. Among Us developers Inner Sloth found themselves in a most peculiar legal bind when, after the game blew up in 2020, they discovered a tiny sliver of the game's artwork was effectively violating the UK's Geneva Conventions Act of 1957. This piece of legislation is concerned with incorporating the Geneva Conventions, treaties which establish international standards for humanitarian conduct during war, into British law. One notable aspect of the Geneva Conventions Act is that it severely restricts the use of the Red Cross logo. In Among Us, the distinctive emblem was plastered across the game's medbay, and with it being a mere frivolous video game, it too fell foul of the law. And so earlier this year, developers Inner Sloth revealed on Twitter that once the sus law-breaking art was brought to their attention, they immediately released a patch which changed the colour of the crosses to blue, ensuring that they skirted clear of being dragged through the legal mud. The studio evidently had a sense of humour about the whole kerfuffle, even jokingly referring to themselves as war criminals. Number 4. Mooning Steve Ballmer. Halo 2. Now, this instance of secret nudity is at least considerably less creepy than some other examples on this list, even if it still caused a considerable legal and monetary headache for Microsoft, and it all came down to a big damn but. When Halo 2 was close to release on Windows Vista in 2007, with copies already sent out to retailers, Microsoft discovered some partial nudity that was hidden in one of the game's error messages. The error contained a picture of one of the game's lead engineers, Charlie Go, mooning his ass at then Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer. Now, this was kind of a big deal given that the ESRB had already rated the game mature with descriptions citing blood, language and violence, but nothing about nudity, because to their knowledge there wasn't any in this game. While the offending butt photo wouldn't raise the game's rating to adults only, it did nevertheless require Microsoft to delay the game by 9 days in order to recall all copies and replace the ESRB sticker with one that mentioned nudity, thereby ensuring that the game could be sold in stores. This reportedly cost the company an eye-watering $500,000 and is also rumoured to have caused several firings. Number 3. Breaking ELLIOT Page's no-nudity clause, Beyond Two Souls. Beyond Two Souls developer Quantic Dream found itself in serious legal trouble shortly after the game's release, when nude images of ELLIOT Page's protagonist Jodie were posted online. While the game features a shower scene involving Jodie, it doesn't contain any nudity, due to the no-nudity clause in Page's contract. However, it was deduced that the offending images were produced by somebody using a PS3 dev kit to manipulate the in-game camera, in turn proving that Quantic Dream rendered a fully nude model resembling Page and included it in the game for unknown reasons. This blew up enough that Page explored legal action against Quantic Dream for creating a nude model of them in the game. Ultimately, there's no recording of Page following through on the lawsuit, though Sony did submit aggressive takedown notices for any parties hosting the images online. Number 2. Sailor Moon Scans, Punch-Out Wii. 2009's Wii boxing game Punch-Out offers up surely the most insane legal violation on this list, especially considering the devastating price that it ended up costing both Nintendo and developer Next Level Games. During the player's rematch with fighter Piston Hondo, he's shown reading a manga magazine between rounds. But the thing is, rather than simply rustle up some quick and dirty fake artwork, the developers used actual scans of the beloved manga Sailor Moon. Now, while there was some pushback from some members of the dev team, it was ultimately felt that the scans were low enough quality that nobody would notice. But Nintendo eventually caught wind of this on the eve of release, resulting in them deeming Next Level Games in breach of contract for placing them in a legally precarious position by including this artwork. Investigations claim that Next Level Games ended up paying $1 to $2 million to Nintendo to have copies of the game reprinted with the manga removed, while Nintendo themselves paid Sailor Moon rights holders Bandai Namco to license the manga for copies of Punch-Out already in circulation. And number 1, Naughty Dog lives up to their name, Rings of Power. Now, Naughty Dog might be seen as the bastion of absurdly classy and polished AAA games these days, but one of their very first releases, 1992's RPG Rings of Power, was anything but. The game made this abundantly clear from its opening splash screen that bears the developer's name, which typically features a model wearing a white t-shirt before she then turns into a dog. However, if you plug your controller into the Mega Drive's second port and enter a short code before restarting the game, the woman will now appear entirely in the nude. Now, while Rings of Power was admittedly released in the pre-ESRB days, it was still seriously dicey to include blatant nudity in a game that would be played by many children, especially with the nudity being easily accessible by anybody who regularly read anything that was printed in gaming magazines on the market. Needless to say, Naughty Dog went the classier route in the decades that followed. And there we go, my friends, those were 10 video game secrets that broke the law. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, where it's @RetroJ, but the O is a 0, and I hope you're treating yourself well, my friend, because you deserve all the bloody best things in life, alright? But until next time, take care of yourself.